Okay, when we were previously recording for my special grooming that I do for situations, my client showed up, so I wasn't able to finish demonstrating that for you. And now today it's snowing again. So, because you won't be able to see what I'm doing if I'm standing out in the snow and the mud, I'm just going to kind of talk you through some of my process. Again, I do a special kind of grooming, I guess, for when I have EAAT clients, and there's a couple of reasons. So I think in our first video, I went over the fact that I tend to braid their tails, and that's so that I can have just an uninhibited, clear view of the back end of the horse and their feet and all of that. Because while I work very hard to keep the kids on the front end and I teach them about equine safety and being behind a horse and everything, you just never know what could happen. And some of these kids, their reaction time isn't as fast as we would hope. So again, I braid the tail. I also spend a great deal of time just grooming the horse in general. And your standard steps with that, I'm tying them up so that they stand still. I use my curry combs to break up dirt and mud patches. I use a hard brush with the flicking motion to get the dirt and mud from the coat, and then follow up with the soft brush, smoothing away any remaining dust. I use a hoof pick to clean out their hooves, and I brush through their mane, usually with some sort of detangling spray. A lot of the kids that I work with are very tactile oriented, and so for example, the little boy who I had the other day, his name's Silas, he's Down syndrome, he's very tactile oriented, and he just spends much of the time stroking the horse and talking about how soft it is. He just can't get enough of how they feel. So I like to make sure that the horse is clean and groomed, no mud or any kind of as little dirt as possible, because they just like to stroke the horse. I will occasionally, I'm not doing it right now because it's winter or coming out of winter into spring, and there's a lot of shedding and stuff going on. So I spend time with a de-shedder, but in the summer I might take like a coat conditioning spray and put it on them, in addition to fly spray, which I'll get to in a minute. But I'll put coat conditioning spray on there and comb that through, just so it has that really glossy, smooth appearance, because they just that's really appealing. The sight of that and the feel of that is very appealing to some of the students that I work with. In the summer, I also use a lot of fly spray, and the reason that I use a lot of fly spray on them is because I don't want the horse distracted by all these flies around them and stomping their feet like they do, or swishing their tail, or doing anything that might startle or cause one of my students or one of my clients to react loudly or suddenly, because that could spook the horse, and then there could be some sort of physical reaction in that spooking that could put my student in jeopardy. I also keep the horse tied up unless we're doing like a leaded ride through the pasture. I keep them tied up on I like them to be able to kind of move their head back and forth, up and down, interact with the students, and not feel like they're completely restricted. But I do keep them tied relatively close, just because I need to make sure that I have as much control as possible in that environment, just to protect my clients. But that's really all I do. My horses, that's their job. We don't do shows. We do trail riding, and we do like EAAT sessions with kids with disabilities. Occasionally maybe a parade. I would say my parade routine would pretty much match my EAAT routine. I would groom them very well, make them look as sleek and shiny as possible. Maybe for a parade, I might gloss up their hooves with the hoof treatment that I have. I probably would braid their tail, French braid their tail. I don't know that I would French braid their mane, just because it's hard to keep a French braid in a horse's mane. shine up and clean up my tack, but I just honestly don't have a routine for that because I don't do that very often. So I chose to focus this video submission more on kind of my EAT sessions, and the weather is not accommodating for me to give you another video demonstration, and we went over much of that already in the grooming submission. So I hope that this qualifies, and thank you for the class. It's been great.